Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here tonight, kicking off a brand new trilogy with an Erasmus Expeditions Presents. I will not be DMing this game. That will be done by the gorgeous individual on the opposite side of the screen from me, my good friend Baron. So, before we get started, however, I do want to go ahead and give the same warning that I give on the beginning of all of my games. I don't know what Baron has planned, but I can promise you that it's going to contain mature subject matter and foul language. So if those things have a problem, if those things have a problem with you, or vice versa, then you should not watch anything on my channel because, yeah, I'm a professional and I also curse. So I'm going to pass it off to another professional so that he can take the driver's wheel. Baron, go ahead.
Excellently done. Hello, everyone. You may recognize me from around here. I've partaken in a few things, dabbled in places. Either way, I have had, once again, the absolute pleasure of working with Jeremy to bring my short story idea to life. Also having the opportunity to work together with my spectacular group of friends. I was able to hammer out a fever dream into Drift, a song of the Ards. But before we go any further, as is tradition, we're going to do some introductions, plugs, anything of the nature that these fine folks feel impressioned to do. And we're gonna start with Svedna. We'll go Karen, and then Philip, and then Jeremy. If you've got anything coming up, please let us know.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. I am Jason Osorio, and kind of a neat thing that doesn't really get to happen too often. I will be reprising a previously played character on this very channel, actually, Svedna Nazif, a tiefling warlock who had a really bad day about 7 years ago, and now we catch up with her story 7 years later. I'm very excited to see where it goes. Thank you, of course, Baron, for having me again, and Jeremy for hosting on this amazing channel. I also, of course, strongly recommend checking out A Willow Weeps on this very same channel, as well as the other things that Jeremy has done on this channel, because it's all good stuff all the time. No pressure. Pass it on to the next person.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears on all the socials, except that I'm not really on there anymore because I'm a hermit. And I am so excited to be back here on this channel playing this new trilogy in this world that we've played once before. I'm playing a new character tonight, so I'm pretty excited about that. I am Lei Tung, who is going to be a Genasi rogue sorcerer, and I'm very, very, very excited to see where it goes and how we're gonna all fit in. And I will just pass it right on to Philip.
Hello, my name's Philip. I'm so happy to be back with these awesome players, with Baron being our DM back on Jeremy's channel. Missed you all and really looking forward to this game. I'll be playing Catherine Martindale, a human cleric. Jeremy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm sure all of you, I hope, know who I am. If not, hi. I'm really excited. It's also going to be me returning to a previous character for the first time in a long time. So I'm very excited to see what has happened to Alistair kind of in the last 7 years and what might happen going forward. I've kind of like a general notion about what he's been through, but it's always kind of exciting to discover that kind of stuff as we play, watch it unfold. So, I'm really happy as always to play with all these individuals. I love all of them very dearly, and this is a really cool world that Baron has set up. So I'm excited to get to play in Ardlands again. So, yeah. I guess I'll pass it back to Baron.
Well, as I don't have anything to plug, because this is like my one-off thing, might as well go ahead and get started. The 11th moon, the 827th year. in the light of the Iron Ring. May the Creator's benevolence shine down upon us all. It started with flurries this morning, became heavier as the day progressed, blocking out the sun with gray clouds. Big, heavy, saturated snowflakes that you can almost feel it laying down a blanket atop you as the snow white that clings to everything begins to accumulate. The brown thatch, the green leatherwoods and firs, and the brown tufts of razor grass, all oppressed by this heavy snowfall. It's these kinds of snows that seem to eat away the sound of the world, in which gave the quiet mountains their name. The deafening silence of the deep winter snows, where all you can hear is the howl of the wind about you and the thump of your heart in your own chest. Many do not go out in this kind of weather. Most folks know better. Kate, we find you atop your horse. Can you describe a little bit of what we see?
Yeah, the horse is a older horse. It's definitely seen a lot of use. You can tell that there is mud in the hooves as well upon the wool traveling cloak on Kate. Kate herself is kind of got her head hunched with her hood over, pressed with her hands pressed against her, trying to keep in some warmth from this wintry day. And the horse slowly plods.
As you said, a sturdy workhorse, old with age, but not of spirit. Laid across a horse blanket, as white as the field of snow about you, but with a black circle emblazoned on either side. You ride alongside a retinue of the Knight Solaire. At the head of the party, the Knight Commander Garcia. Beside him, to his left, Justice Uxla and Knight Omar. To his right, Prince Melanie Albrecht and yourself of the Sept Zalier. You have been dispatched for a variety of reasons. Rarely do the knights call on the Shield Sisters of the Church, but Lady Ygritte herself was to be making a pilgrimage, and certain rites must be observed. You find that the snow is just clinging to you, and you can even see that this black circle of the Iron Ring is starting to vanish underneath this blanket of snow that seems to attach itself to everything. By this time tomorrow, drift will be in its winter state until presumably the thaws of the 5th moon. Amble's shoes crunch in the snow as if crunch in the snow that has been churned, and your group walks out the south gate into the trees. Not much further up the mountain, and there are no more trees. The cold sticks to the stone and the dirt, but here they still grow, tall, but sparse. The miners always made sure that the paths and the roads were clear through the woods. The thought of who would be responsible for that now crosses your mind. You are surprised you don't see the new boy here. He usually clings to the side of Knight Omar like a shadow. What thoughts do you have of your current objective to meet with Sister Ygritte? I mean, things to consider. It's obviously snowing like crazy, and Sister Ygritte is not exactly as spry as any of the other Shield Sisters. She's quite elderly.
Yeah, I'll make sure that people bring Sister Ygritte extra blankets for warmth, fresh blankets that have been, warmed and kept warmer under the snow, and approaching her to get some extra dry layer on. I'll say, we must look to the light in such wretched times and find warmth and strength as we're moving towards it.
As you speak aloud, your voice sounds so much louder in like the immediate, and it's almost as if when the words leave your lips, they fade away. You're almost unsure if you even said them. Did you just think it? But you notice Priestess Melody ahead of you. She turns, a forced but warm smile. She like reaches back and brushes some of the snow from your hood, and surprisingly, it's like a large like slump of snow that comes off you. Can't keep the blankets warm if you're not warm, silly.
Yes, it's a bit harsh out here, but we must do what we can.
Light tongue. You follow some sort of light, a torch, a lamp, something. It's barely visible in this precipitation. What's worse, behind you, you hear the sounds of shuffling feet and hoarse moans. The wandering dead lurk in the woods tonight. A poor sign, a very poor sign given the weather. A faint smell of ash lingers despite the lack of fire. Those poor wretches were forced to walk in the days long after their souls have left them. Forced by the curses to the west to walk further than its final breath. But if you do not pursue this light, it will get too far away. And the person with the light is the person who goads these poor wretches. And it seems you as well. Within your hand is a piece of paper. It reads simply, "The child will be taken tonight." What is going through your head?
I think there's almost a desperation inside. There's been so many times in this last week or so where I've been told by people I have trusted that there's a prophecy hanging over my head that is in some ways connected to this message on this piece of paper, and that I am going to do something terrible this night and offend somebody. And I don't know what that means. And I am terrified, like where I'm going to go, what's happening, why the world is changing such that this is why I'm out here freezing. I'm shivering. But I can't let this happen. And so I crumple this note even more in my hand and pull my cloak tighter around my body and try to catch up to this light that's disappearing ahead of me.
You pursue in the trees. Though the foliage is not super dense, like I said, it's rather sparse. There are tufts of what's called razor grass, where it's like these thick, like almost like Bermuda grass bushes, just razor sharp. I mean, most people wear clothes that prevent it from hurting you, but it's just another obstacle that you have to kind of circumnavigate as you're moving through here. And it seems as every time you go around one, the light disappears for a moment. You pursue, you can see it. It stays almost the same distance away from you indefinitely as you pursue. As you run, in your haste to kind of like try and catch up to it as it leaves your vision, one of these blades of razor grass catches your hood tearing it slightly and pulling it back. And tell us, what do we see as your face is revealed for the first time?
So you see this young woman, probably just entering adulthood. Her skin is blue. She's got this kind of a blue-green hair. It's close. It's like short cut. She is dressed in. It's almost like you'd think like temple robes, except that it's a little bit more practical for traipsing out here in this terrain. There's not a lot of flowing like garments. It's very like loose fitting, but nothing that would snag on these razor thorns as much as you can get away from that. So the clothing is matching this terrain, but there's still something about it that whispers to anybody who would look at it that is some sort of religious outfit. She is probably of the smaller stature, probably about 5'4", and lean. And at this moment, the facial expression is one of determination and like conviction.
The gust blows. It kind of like pulls your hood in front of your face, and in that moment, the scene transitions. The sounds of your leather boots on these old, so very old, but still almost polished stones, they click, almost echo and reverberate through this temple. Though fallen into disrepair, the acoustics still very much apparent, and the purpose of the temple and like being able to cast your voice out to a populace still present. Alistair, you walk among the still standing pillars of this mausoleum. 3 large walls remain, and most of a fourth block what wind would assail you on the side of the mountain. The steep, pointed roof of the Elysians were so fond of send most of the snow cascading off the side of the structure, building barriers that further protect the occupants from the elements. The light of the structure building the light of the fire illuminating the interior. Its radiant warmth within the space, a stark contrast to the frozen kiss of the maiden. You turn around. Rotwood is with you. He bears the dark tunic and trousers of a Knight Solar recruit. His once tangled hair and the patchy start of a beard having been clean cut. His hair shorn close to the sides of his head, and the top oiled and neatly tied back. His face is smooth, with a small nick on his left cheek. He tells you, I'm simply here to get the rest of my things. I'll be staying in the barracks now. Knight Commander Garcia says a Knight Solar should be at hand at a moment's call. And up here where the dead lie is unacceptable.
Well, I can't say that I won't miss your help around here.
Maybe you should come too. Surely there's no reason for you to stay up here by yourself.
No reason. This is the place where I belong. This is exactly where I should be.
This is
Look
a
around
house
you.
for the dead, Alistair. You are alive. You breathe.
I am only alive because so many others died. The time that I have left is dedicated to them for that reason.
then shouldn't you be available at a moment's call? We are far too familiar with the undead to act like we walk around as undead ourselves. Alistair, please.
You are a young man. You seek glory and honor and action. I understand it. It's natural. It's only natural, but that's no longer the life that I seek. My body hurts. I want to rest.
You don't think sleeping in a tomb is what causes your body to ache? There are beds in town. Lady Isadora, she brings with her these luxuries from the south the Drift has never known.
She brings a lot more than luxury, I'll tell you that. Listen.
Here we go. What could you possibly have against the good lady?
The good lady. Well, that's not for me to discuss. Look, if you insist on joining this group, this new faith, who am I to stop you? That's the thing about belief. Your heart should lead you. But before you go, if you would please just help me lift this up onto the altar. It's the last thing I'll ask of you.
He positions himself on the other side. And as you guys begin to lift, that's the thing. Garcia says it's not a change in belief. They're similar. We were using the wrong words. They're not gods. They're like saints. They're patrons underneath the umbrella of light. You're not.
Lower your voice. This is a house of Anak, and I can promise you that he would not take kindly to being demoted to merely a saint.
Renoad blushes. It's definitely like embarrassment shows plainly on his face. Kind of like looks down. I'm sorry. Forgive
No need. Just push here. And he kind of like guides the lad to like push this, what is a like hand-carved wooden holy symbol of Anak. It's not very well done, but you can tell that somebody spent a lot of time on it. And he kind of steps back to kind of like look at it. That's perfect. Exactly the way I imagined it.
Renoad kind of like rubs the side of it. We never kind of like goes to say something about the process that he may have been involved in, and then kind of like steels himself. Turned out well.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without your help.
Maybe don't tell Garcia that.
No, your secret is safe with me. What young man does not need a secret past, after all?
Eerily, you shift your gaze to the door. I guess it's more or less like probably a thick rug that has been nailed to like the opening of this, and it's like partially kind of blown open, and there is a fox, small and partially orange but like heavily white in its fur, looking at you with curiosity. It sits there unnaturally, in your opinion, as it's kind of like within your space. It eyes you. And after a moment, it stands, spins on its heel, and runs away from the structure and down the slope, down a path into the woods. Give me a religion check. We'll roll some dice, I guess.
Let me see. Starting at 9. 10 even.
You are, as a priest of Anak, familiar with his agents, the fox, his messengers, the tricksters between the realms that can pass messages between the gods without restriction. And rarely do they act so peculiar. A cool wind finds its way up the back of your neck. Goosebumps raise on your arms, and you feel the presence of unlife.
I think there's maybe like a moment where, what is his name? Renwith?
Renuad.
Renwad. Where Renwad is like, speaking to him, but it's like muffled in Alistair's like, perception. And he comes to a second later and realizes that he has moved over to like a corner where he keeps his mace, and he's actually like grabbed a hold of his mace, kind of completely unawares that he's done so, and is kind of like white knuckling the haft of the weapon before he realizes that the young man is speaking to him. And he kind of blinks.
Alistair.
Sorry. Did you say something?
What is wrong? I would say that you're probably even if I recall correctly, you also have a lantern, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yes.
I think your hand probably would have been like a fraction of an inch away from like mace in one hand, the lantern in the next.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. The lantern of tracking. Yeah.
And I believe the thing we chose for it to track was undead.
Yes. He responds to the young man with him. Something is amiss. I sense a foul presence. My lantern. Get my lantern.
He grabs it, lunges to be beside you, and hands it to you. I'll warn the village.
Go. And if the rest of your order are around, you better warn them as well.
He stops, like hands bracing the doors, and looks back. He says nothing, but in a look of determination, he just nods, and he's gone. As he disappears behind the door frame, we are hunkered down outside. It's dark. But even in the dark, with the layer of snow, it's almost like the air glows purple as the late light reflects, and you can still see the ground, but everything is large swaths of inky black, like paint that was never thinned. Svedna, you are beside Tom. I think kind of in the same vein as everyone else. Hoods were up, and Tom kind of slumps down beside you where like an outcropping of snow has kind of like forced some razor grass into a burrow. And he pulls back his hood, revealing a
Blurry Baron.
I don't know why it's doing that, but that's annoying. He reveals a face overtaken by a bushy white mustache, his hair kind of neatly pulled back into a ponytail. It's a dwarven man. His eyes keen, almost hidden within the wrinkles of age. His face like tanned leather, just from years of exposure to these winds, almost permanently just pocked red with burst blood vessels. Could be the drinking, as his nose is kind of swollen and red as well. He speaks in a hushed but still audible voice, something you're familiar to being out here in the woods. It's just enough to carry to your ear and your ear alone. Whether there's some sort of ranger skill to that or not, you've never learned it. As wise ones, or as kids, the wise ones would always tell us to mind our mothers. Bundle up and cover your ears, or mind your noses, lest the ice maiden get them. She swallows your voices so no one can hear, and bites off pieces of flesh left uncovered to the cold. He absent-mindedly rubs the red and puffy nose that sticks out from under his furs. It's even more red than usual from the cold. You can see the top of his mustaches kind of caked in like frozen snot. I don't like this wind. I don't like the feel of it. It's bitter and hateful. My bones tell me so. My bones are never wrong, Svedna.
Yeah, I think when Tom is talking about, the chill winds like taking pieces of people through frostbite, Svedna, whose hood is in a probably much more ragged condition than Tom's, pulls her hood back, revealing a face that is scarred and streaked with old faded burn marks and it almost looks like food and drink stains. This tiefling woman in her early 30s. Her dark hair short on the sides, long on top, with this iron septum piercing, and these red horns that curl back and kind of tilt up at the ends over her scalp. She looks at him and smiles, and it is an ugly expression on this face as she says, "I mean, I don't know if I can get much more scarred than I already am, Tom. And besides, maybe the wind will do your complexion a bit of good. You're so leathery, you know?" And she smiles, but there's something odd about the smile. It doesn't quite reach the eyes. It seems a little more forced, maybe, than it has in the past. As she looks kind of out towards the snow-drenched forest and just says, although if what you noticed before is true, then it means more of the living dead, not usual in Drift, right?
You always pick such poor times to tell jokes, Svedna. I'm being serious. These are not games. They are stories, but mothers tell you
I
they're
have to lighten the
serious.
mood a little bit. Otherwise, it would just be all depressing and sad out here in the middle of winter. Instead of cozied up around the fire, with something warm, preferably alcoholic. Stares pointedly at the nose.
He unhooks a couple of rabbits from his belt and kind of like tucks this kind of like bush becoming more or less like somewhere he'll come back to now that the snow is beginning to take over. It's kind of like one of the foraging spots that he'll make. He stores these here. It'll be cold enough. These will preserve at least for the time. And nonsense. Beneath those scars, there is a beautiful woman still.
All right, Tom.
I see it, and he like hard pokes you in like the shoulder. You try to be coarse.
Good.
But we're all bitter. Doesn't make you special. That's how you rise above. And anyway, you don't have to come out here with me. You can go home.
Nothing. I want to be out here with you. Trust me, if I didn't want to be out here with you, I would not be out here with you. And I think kind of as Tom poked her shoulder, like she doesn't move. She is.
No, I don't think it's
she's,
like.
Well, no.
It's like a hard stop.
No, I got you. Yeah, she is. I think she is more muscle bound and burly than she was in the past. Everything about her screams that this is someone who has become extremely accustomed to violence. And I think as she's sort of watching him with the conies, and she kind of smiles at him and says, listen, we need to deal with this. And then there is and you see her wince a little bit. There is a conversation that you and I need to have soon, I think. But if you want, maybe I fly ahead. She kind of flexes these giant red bat wings that sprout from her back. Maybe I fly ahead, see if I can scare up some of these dead, try to lead them back to you. I need to
Yeah.
use this, Tom. And she pulls out this sword that is slightly curved in the elvish style. There are cracks and gaps in the metal and the stone of the handle, but they have been filled in with red crystalline growths, and kind of scrawled or etched into the side of the blade is a word in Infernal, which is Greshka. And she kind of, as she holds it, I imagine there's like a little bit of like crimson light and cinders that begin to drift off the blade. Come on, Tom. You know I love to use this.
He like pulls you down. God damn it! You fucking show off. Get fucking
I'm a giant muscular red devil lady. I can't
You're
really
a giant
hide,
dumb
Tom.
bitch if you think that the undead give a fuck about that. God damn it! And he's like looking out through. Do you hear that? Roll a perception check.
I shall. Off to a great start with a 19 plus 4 is a 23.
You hear it first. It's the wind, just the howl. You know, consistent, just solid blowing. It's like there hasn't been a lull. And it's easy to kind of like become background noise in your brain. But as soon as Tom says, listen, you know, you're able to kind of like turn and buffet that out, and beneath it are the moans, the wails. They're not consistent, they're not continuous. They rise, they hit a crescendo, they fall. The dark, cacophonous harmony of the wandering death that lurks within the woods outside of Drift, between it and the rest of the world. But with a 24, beyond that, you hear the pounding of hooves, a horse, a scout. It must be. The Knights Solar are the only ones that have horses anymore.
I think hearing that, these eyes, which have these sort of like crimson irises that have these sort of strange indigo flecks that have recently appeared in them, kind of swivel over to Tom, and she says, did you know of any other hunters or scouts out here this evening? With how cold it's gotten and the amount of snow, I figured they all would be staying closer to Drift. Who would be out here at this time of day?
Something must be happening. He reaches into a pouch at his side and reveals two very like morel-like mushrooms. He hands one to you. I found this. An icy head cap. He like throws it in his mouth.
What is this going to do? Should I be concerned?
It tastes good. You enjoy the little things.
All right. She pops it in her mouth. Tastes like dirt.
This is what the rich people are here for.
I don't think Lady Isadora is here for dirt-tasting mushrooms, Tom.
And I think it's at this moment we see like Svedna, you fly.
Oh yeah.
Tom, in a moment's notice, has disappeared into the shadows that contrast the white snow. That white snow being the final transition as we get back to Kate. You have you guys have been trotting out into the woods. It hasn't been like a rush to meet Lady Egrid. But after some time, you hear the hard riding of a horse, and a scout pulls up next to Knight Commander Garcia. He tells him in a harsh voice, "Undead, sir. Many." Garcia quickly, he doesn't rear his horse. He turns back. "Then we ride." And without really seeing if anyone is like, I kind of object, he just goes. And the Knights Solar all follow behind him. Kate, do you ride with them?
Sorry, who else is in the pilgrimage right now?
Are you asking about the people that are accompanying you, or the people that are with Sister Egrid coming? Your guys are riding out to meet her.
Yeah. I don't think there's. Yeah, I will definitely go and ride. I grab my brass mace, and pull it out and kick my old workhorse into gear, and immediately going from a plodding to a brisk gallop.
I think the wind probably catches your hood, as we didn't see it before. What do we see? What does Kate look like?
Kate is a young woman who has lines of wisdom. Her hair is a bushy and curly, dirty blonde that is parted in the middle and then brought back into a braid. You can see that there is severe scarring on her face, which has brought her eyes to a milky white consistency, and blue. That once eyes that were once vibrant blue are now disfigured. She, from any way person, it would seem as though she should be blind, but her actions are as if she can see perfectly. She will say, "May the light protect us," and her mace ignites in a vibrant, radiant light.
You also hear Priest Melanie. The fires of Xylir will burn our enemies, burn the undead, root them from these lands. You hear the knights kind of like, oh, the light of Xylir, the light of Xylir, for the knights Xylar. And they all charge. The banner that you seen Melanie kind of like loosely holding, that has the white tabard with the black iron ring, catches in the wind. But at the same time, all the Knights Solar with their similar tabards. Theirs is white with the black ring, but there is a sun in the center. And you charge. The wind lashes your face. Snow blinds you. It's still coming down heavily, and it's kind of like you're fighting to keep your hood up. You were riding for probably the better part of maybe like 2 or 3 minutes when you hear them, and then you see them. You come upon them fast. There's some sort of like whether it was a group of hunters or like farmers coming in to town to try and like ride out the storm in the city versus out in the farm, or some latecomers making the trip much later into the season that they should have. You see carnage. There is a wagon tipped over, horse mauled and ripped apart. The white marred and turned into a slush as it's mixed with red. There is a heavy smell of iron, but something else, something like sick and putrid and old, like a cellar that hasn't been opened in a long time. And above all, you smell smoke, like an ashy, residual, just the bitter, acrid smell of a fire long extinguished. They tear these corpses to pieces, limbs mixed. How many there were is hard to say, as it's just a mash of these assailants. They moan as they chew. Kate, we're not necessarily in combat, as the sheer numbers of Knights Solar, as well as just like the chaos, wouldn't necessarily permit D&D combat successfully. What is something that describe a scene to us as you kind of like ride in upon these undead?
Yeah, so Lightbringer is, the pinnacle of the charge. Shining radiant light. I'll rush in on my horse, quickly dismount and tie the horse up a safe distance as I am turning the undead while dismounting. Any undead that are able to keep coming towards me are swiftly met with the business end of Lightbringer. And as best I can, protecting any bodies to try and stop these foul creatures from devouring them.
You approach the bold side of your mace, colliding with the lower half of this face. Do you there's like a part of your mind that's like, do I know him? Do I recognize him? And it is immediately gone as the force of the follow through kind of like snaps the creature's neck and throws it to the ground. A second lunges at you. I think you have a shield?
Yeah.
Your shield blocks the creature. You feel the weight crush you, push you further into the snow, but you toss the creature up over you. You know these creatures are not the most dexterous. It lands in the snow, squabbling. You end its life with a firm and devastating blow to the crown of its head. The battle fury engages as the Knight Solar made almost like a push to get through the line and break up this wave of undead. They're now kind of like sectioning off and maneuvering these creatures to be systematically destroyed. It's actually within this battle fray that Svedna, you know Tom is nowhere near this. He's watching, but he will not participate at this point if the Knights Solar are here. He may, kite one or two off to the side to slay of his own accord, but he's not a battle fighter like this. What would you be doing as you approach this scene?
I think Svedna, as she is flying through the air, this ancient elvish blade ignited with this kind of vibrant red fire and cinders. I think she looks at these fighting individuals. She tries to find one who maybe doesn't look as experienced or who's struggling maybe to overcome their revulsion or, as you said before, their hesitance because maybe they recognize one of these reanimated carcasses. I think she's looking for the weak links in the Knight Solar sort of regiment, essentially, and kind of almost like again like an arrow loosed from a bow. She just streaks down. She no longer fights at range. She's just swinging with the sword. And she just crashes into whichever undead is threatening this individual or group of inexperienced potentially individuals.
I think that would have probably been Scribe Ema, a dwarven man you may have met throughout town, but almost no matter what, he just looks sickly.
Oh, okay.
He's been
you said
cleared.
Ema, is that correct? Ema?
Gima, G-I-M-A.
Got it. Thank you.
Scribe Gima. He stumbles, one of these creatures grabbing the leather straps of his backpack and like pulling him to the ground. It's over top of him, about to kind of like just lay on him and engorge, and you respond. Your strike piercing through the creature. There's probably like that cinematic scene where like the tip of the sword sticks from the chest, like just briefly, showing how close it is to his face, and then you remove it, the gore kind of landing on top of him. He throws the body off the side. He looks up at this like crimson, like angelic demonic figure, and he's just like,
You really should stick to your archives, Scribe Gima. And then I think without waiting, she just turns on her heels and just kind of launches herself at the next closest undead.
The bloodlust is upon the knights now. You see their swords kind of glittering bitterly in the snow and lantern light. Alistair, you've lost this fox some time ago, but you hear now what it was leading you to. So your lantern, this is a device unique to you. What does it look like when you use it?
So, I think that that this lantern is rather mundane looking. It looks like just kind of a normal, average hooded lantern, but maybe like one that's been fairly well upkept, even though it seems pretty old. And normally its light glows a little dimmer than a regular lantern would, regardless of how much wick that you let out of it or whatever. But currently, I don't know if it currently actually. I think maybe currently its flame is instead burning a bright green and is much brighter than a normal lantern.
If I'm not mistaken, yes, it would be.
It is if there is undead within 300 feet.
Oh, then yes, I think it would be.
I figured it probably was. Okay.
And it's in this kind of eerie green, like, Disney movie, evil green with the undead specter kind of spooky color. You see the silhouette of a woman. I guess you wouldn't necessarily know it's of a woman. You just see a silhouette of a person in a cloak, kind of like traipsing through the woods here.
Coming my way, or
they're ahead of you.
Okay,
You're
so
coming
I'm
up from
kind
behind
of catching
them.
up to them. Yeah, he'll just continue forward.
Far away, you see the faint shadows of a green light dancing behind you.
I'm coming up behind you.
I think just at the sound of something and seeing that green lantern and the sound of somebody coming, she would try to, at this point, try to like disappear within the foliage here. The sorry, the fur baby is distracting me. Anyway, she would try to, I guess, like at this point, hide, having not really supposed to be out here, especially in this the climate that's going on.
I mean, you've met Alistair. You would recognize his voice saying, coming up behind you.
I don't think that would stop her from trying to hide, though.
I mean, you can roll a stealth check then.
That's a 28.
She's gone. She disappeared. Do you try to find her? Do you pursue?
No, I think like he moves up to the spot where he like knows that he saw her and kind of like shines the light of the lantern kind of like above his eyesight, his eye line, kind of both directions, looking down at the snow in particular for tracks, and then shakes his head. No more tracking tonight, and he hurries forward because he knows that if this thing is glowing green, that there's trouble somewhere, and he needs to find that.
I would,
go ahead.
After he passes and he's no longer like looking for me, right? Like he's passed, he's carrying on. I will follow him.
Perfect. Alistair, you come up almost from behind as you've managed to like get in the back of this wave of undead. You still see like the backs of Knight Solar as they've kind of got these groups sectioned off, but there are still some like trailing in out of the woods. There are a few close to you. This kind of cold hatred, instinctual or otherwise. It's not something that you think about, but seeing the sight of the denial of Anek, the treaties of man, like we accompany Anek to the afterlife. That is the way it goes. So these monstrosities lay before you. How do you react?
I think when he spots the first of them, he changes his course to intercept as soon as possible. He doesn't like break into a run. He doesn't quicken his step at all. He just changes to march straight towards them. And we can see that he is wearing different clothing than he was when we last saw him. He has put back on his armor, and you can see that it has been, again, well maintained, though has seen better days. And over that, he has a tunic, like these vestments that are, regardless of how many times they've been washed, like the maroon stains are kind of still visible, faint, like deep in the threads of the cloth. And he very much looks the same, maybe a little older than he did when he marched onto the battlefield for the last time. He is muttering an apology as he approaches this individual. I am sorry that they stole this vessel from you. We have turned it into an abomination. I hope wherever your soul is that it is resting peacefully, but I will avenge what has been done to you. And as he kind of finishes this small little like proclamation, he brings up this mace, this kind of like four-bladed mace, this thing up and smashes it into the skull of one of these undead. And no apology beyond that. There's no ceremony about it. He fells this creature as fast as he can and moves on.
And there is a mechanical precision of someone doing their job. In the years since, well, the thing we don't talk about any longer, situations like this have become much more prevalent. You laugh in the kind of like political spheres of conversation in the church separating because the common folk weren't being, and then you think to yourself, common folk were always represented in the old gods, your gods. Their temples were out here. You didn't have to go to someone else to speak to God. You slay these abominations, and it's almost as if this green firelight is drinking in the evil, purging it and cleansing the shadows of these abominations. The rite of passage, a site of burning, truly send these creatures back to the corpse hall. Light Tongue behind him. You see Alistair procedurally destroy undead. What do you do?
I think from behind him, seeing that he is destroying these undead, and that's part of the. I mean, it's not the reason why I'm out here, but it's part of why I'm here. I would be aiding him from. well, from hidden. This won't be hidden anymore, but as he's attacking them, he will have seen some firebolts kind of zip past him and hitting ones that maybe were either, trying to surround him or too far away. But as he's attacking the one in front of him, another one would be lit on fire.
Once Alasdair realizes that Leitung is with him and who she is, he kind of like does a double take. What are you doing here?
I think she doesn't say anything at this point because I imagine there's still like a few of these undead around or whatever. She's like, fight first, talk later.
There are people who the entire job is to protect you. Where are they?
And I think at that point she just kind of does that whole big sigh and darts.
A crumpled piece of paper lays heavy in your hand.
Yeah. And I think she would probably take out another like undead, or at least try to. And I think if they're all gone at that point, I think she would just throw the piece of paper at him.
Yeah, mace in one hand and shield in the other. He's not prepared for like a piece of paper that like gets tossed at him, so it just kind of like hits him in the chest or the face or something, falls to the snow. He bends down and tries to pick it up, uncrumple it, read it very quickly.
While this is taking place, we see Kate, you dispatch a final zombie. What does that look like? Kate?
Yes, I did. I heard you dispatch a zombie.
We see you dispatch a final zombie. What does that look like?
Oh, what does that look like? I missed that part. Yes. So I think that I've just got one zombie close to the overturned cart that was hunched over a body, rending it. And after I just completely knock that head off, I turn and I look around, and there's another zombie. Let's see, another zombie that is approximately 110 feet away, and I just bring my mace to me and say a small prayer and cast guiding bolt onto that final zombie as a beam of radiant energy erupts from the mace and goes directly towards the zombie.
And Svedna, this zombie, almost far from the rest of the fray, or the final bits of it, you go to take this out as a bolt of this glowing radiant light spears into it, and almost like the light passes through and fills it, all the gaps in its flesh glowing as it fries from the inside and falls down, but itself is still glowing. And Kate, you see someone you haven't seen in some time. Svedna.
I think as Svedna sees this, she will just to be safe, she decapitates this sort of radiant, illuminated undead. But then she turns her head back in the direction where the spell came from, and she sees Kate. She sees Catherine Martindale, and I think after making sure there are no other zombies in the immediate area, she sheathes her sword and just flies over. And whether you want it or not, Kate, she just embraces you in this tight hug and kind of like lifts you up and is like, By the old gods and the new, fucking Catherine Martindale. I haven't seen you in, what, 6 years? Look at you, she'll set you down. You found your strength. I'm proud of you. You're a cleric of, what, the Eternal Torch or something? So impressive. Although I did notice, not to be a stickler, you still have that little gap in your defenses around your left flank. You want to make sure to shore that up, Kate? Someone's going to beat you, you know? How are you? How have you been?
I think it takes Kate a moment to even recognize Svedna.
Oh yeah,
The way that
the 6 years have not been kind to her at all.
and not only that, but since we've met, that's when I've gone blind. So the way
One of
that
the last things that Kate's seen.
Yeah, oof.
was that image of Svedna, and the image of the owl bear that clawed my face and raked it where I lost my vision. But now I see more kind of auras, and it takes me a moment to recognize that this crystalline aura is actually Svedna, and it seems alien despite the voice being so familiar. And Kate definitely has grown up in the 6 years as well. And she is, as you mentioned, the chink in her defenses, she'll kind of like instinctually like, oh, almost cover and a little flabbergasted. There is but one Lord, and that is the Radiant Lord Salir. It is through his grace and through his light that we must find our purpose, Svedna. And I thank you for leading me to that path.
Yeah, it was well, I guess we can maybe talk when we get to Drift. Is that where you're going? You're heading to Drift, I assume? Being a cleric and all that, you look
Yes,
good.
there is
Investments.
the light needs to be brought upon this dark, forsaken village, and I am here to help bring upon that light.
Uh-huh.
These people are without help. They're without guidance. They need a firm and committed presence.
I don't disagree with you, but I think there's like this, you can definitely hear like this note of like growing apprehension in Svedna's voice as she's just listening to this sort of like rote religious dogma that you are spewing. Uh-huh. Got
Yes,
it.
commitment, Svedna. Have you heard that word? Do you understand
no,
that?
we're not doing this right now. No, Kate, we aren't doing this right
never.
now.
We will always do it later. No problem, Svedna.
We'll do it when we get back to town if you want to.
Kate,
Gods, fuck me.
give me a religion check. Or a perception check, whichever's higher.
Who's that?
Kate.
Dope. I'll do religion for sure. 13.
Blessed be the gifts of Zalir, and the bountiful, gifts he gives as you are able to see through his light. As you look at people, you see auras, more or less, correct?
Yeah.
So I think that usually for most people, it's like a faint blue or like an off-white, so that you know that someone's there. And as you look at Svedna, you see the usual off-white, but as you're speaking with her, it's being overtaken by something. There's a second glow down to the side, red. And it's almost like sleep paralysis, like you can't bring yourself to look at it. Something bad will happen if you look at it. You cannot look at it. Additionally, hold on. Actually, not yet. You have something to say in response to that? You may. And then I'll just...
Nope. Keep going.
Svedna, in her iconic voice, oh so reminiscent of her father. Alistair, like nails on a chalkboard, you hear this voice echo through this small grove.
He kind of furrows his brow for a second. No, there's no way. Svedna? He calls out, kind of projecting.
I think there's like a beat, and then, and the fucking cairn maker's here too. Why are you always here when there's trouble? Fuck!
I live here.
I
This
know
is my
you do.
job, to take
Creepy,
care of this
creepy
place.
hermit. All right. I'm going back to my dwarf. She just turns and starts walking away. I'll see you in town, Kate.
As whether you realize it or not yet, you are more or less surrounded. The Knights Solar, though they can tell the difference between enemies living and dead, they know individuals of power when they recognize them. The kind of like 2 or 3, nameless soldiers that were accompanying the retinue kind of like circle around. Ahead of you is Garcia. He is atop his horse. And this man is handsome. He has clean cut features, a very strong jaw. His hair is raven black, and despite the age that he's getting to be, it's still as full as a young man. He has eyes that look down at you like an eagle or a hawk looking down from its beak, like a creature of predatory nature. As he kind of comes up to you, you see like his mail. The Knights Solar, they wear steel, but it's lacquered with black plates, kind of very much contrasting with the tabard that they bring. But the cloaks that they wear are a kind of dirty white from the months of travel. Emblazoned on the left of the breastplate is the symbol of the Knights Solar, the black circle of the iron ring with the sunburst inside it. Sidling up with him is Justice Uxla, who carries the reins of your horse, Kate. Dismounting, she very much like turning corners sharply, hand on sword hilt. She puts a hand out for you, Kate. Priestess Kate, some assistance to horseback, if I might be of service. And she is going to help you get on your horse.
Yes, thank you, kind soul. May the blessings of Sleer shine upon you, as they do us all.
So, whereas we see Catherine, what does your holy symbol look like? Is that in view?
Yeah, always, absolutely. You should always be presenting the holy symbol of Zalir as a shining beacon for those who are lost to see upon it. And this is a polished mixture of silver and gold, although Kate would love to showcase the brilliance of Zalir through a fully gold, opulent, holy symbol. I've not yet been seen to be blessed by Zalir that much. So a modest silver and gold holy symbol.
A scene flashes in your head. It's Sister Egrid. We show not our devotion to the Holy Lord through our gifts, but our services. And we're back. Dangling from Justice Uxla's neck is a similar symbol, Almost all of them have the black ring that circumvents some sort of icon within, but Uxla's is a sword piercing a heart, that of the Braveheart Angel, the Order of the Iron Ring, Azazel. Or Azrael, rather, not Azazel. Assisting you onto your horse. You're kind of all being corralled in. Tom seemingly having missed the picket line, I guess, if you will. State your names.
Knight Commander, you know me. I've been here for a few months now.
His brow furrows.
Svedna Nazif, and stop staring at me
Svedna,
like that.
I know who you are.
Yes.
And he kind of like, he raises his lantern now and he like draws the hood and he looks out. And Alistair, Canemaker. Who are you?
Nods. Nicholas.
And he like points the lantern at the cloaked figure standing behind you, Alistair.
I think if there was even a moment between the hearing Svedna's name and Alistair talk out and realizing that there's other people here, my tongue would have tried to hide again. Try to disappear. She's not supposed to be here.
Stealthing this whole campaign. Just she
Oh, you
disappears.
bet.
Hey, Lay Tongue, I need to. Where'd you go?
Kate would definitely step in too. Even seeing that this person is not talking to her, she would pipe up and say, "I am Sister Catherine Martindale of the Order of the Radiant Lords Lear, here to find Ingrid." Sorry, I'm so sorry. What was her
Sister
name?
Egrid, Y-G-R-I-D.
Sister Egrid, who is on pilgrimage to these lands.
Have you seen her? Garcia says to Svedna. Particularly Svedna, knowing that you've been out here probably with Tom.
Seen who, Knight Commander?
Her name is Sister Egrid. She travels west from the hermitage in the mountains east of here. She should be accompanied by a few hedge knights of the order.
I think kind of in the same manner that you had sort of described the Knight Commander's eyes, Svedna's eyes are, again, there's this like weird hollowness, this almost like predatory flatness to her gaze as she locks eyes with him, and says, Knight Commander, I don't know. I was out here with Tom. We heard about the living dead stalking through the forest. We are a little more concerned about that than some wayward sister. No offense. And she'll kind of like vaguely gesture in the direction of the holy individuals accompanying the other Knight Solaire. I don't know. I haven't seen her.
It's a scene of a hawk and a wolf just coldly glaring at one another.
Well, I think that the kind of the contrast is very funny because Svedna's wearing like this tattered to shit leather armor, threadbare breeches and boots, like, and half of her tail is missing. Like she looks like a mercenary compared to this, like, again, like you said, this, black plate wearing this almost opulent and powerful looking man mounted on a horse. She just kind of glares at him.
Almost
Tiefling looks out only for herself.
That is not true, and you know that, Kate.
He kind of scowls, looking at Kate and looking back. Uxla finishes helping you get on your horse. She turns, glaring daggers at you, Alistair. And the totema's in the woods. As she kind of like turns around. Yes, Totema. What are you doing down here? Referring to you, Alistair. This is Nicholas. Shouldn't you be making your cairns?
It seems that some of the bodies are not staying put where they should.
Well, do a better job. Find heavier
Why do you
rocks.
think I'm here? I'm standing here having slain many myself. Nicholas, how many did you topple from atop your horse?
Did you say find heavier rocks? Oof.
How many did you slay this evening, Nicholas? From atop that horse?
You lose count in the battle fray.
Ah, yes. You would have to be in the fray of battle, however, for that to be true.
Justice looks like stomps over for you and takes a hold of like the top of your breastplate at the neck. You will show respect to the Knight Commander. Groveling Totema, and throws you back, or at least attempts to. You can roll a strength saving throw.
That's fine. He doesn't fight it.
You fall, snow cold on your ass.
Please, gentlemen, if Sister Ygritte is in fact missing, I think we should divert our attentions and resources to finding her.
There's been a slight change of plans, Sister Catherine. I was told to find Svedna. This is more important. You three, ride the trail. See if you can find any traces of this pilgrimage.
Who told you to find me, Knight Commander?
He looks at you in a smile that does not touch his eyes. Lady Isadora requests
Shit.
your presence. And if that is who I think it is, and he looks at you, Lightongue, in your attempt to hide. I think that it's like you attempt to escape, but like this ring of scouts kind of like garroted you all into position. She'd like a word with you too. Why don't we all? I would like some wine. Let us go now. And he turns his horse. You, relieve your horses. Tend to the dead. And he looks back. Are you coming? Or do I need to carry you? The lady does not like to wait.
Alistair is like just now. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think as soon as like Laytime realizes she can't hide, she's been found. There's no way around this. Her cloak is like as cover. She's as covered as she can be. She doesn't want her face to be shown, but she does go over to where Alistair had been pushed down onto the snow and will help him up.
He stands up. There's some loud pops and creaks from his knees as he kind of like gets himself up.
I think she
with your
whispers. Yeah, she whispers to you, so only you can hear this. Is like, I am going to kill her one day.
Well, you may have to fight me for it. He like brushes the snow off of his butt and the back, and picks up his shield and his mace again. I suppose this is a difficult invitation to turn down, however. Perhaps we should see what this is about.
I think Svedna just kind of flexes her wings for a moment and then just shrugs and says, well, it was bound to happen sooner or later, I guess. Haven't seen her since I've been back in Drift. Maybe she pines for me. Lead on, Knight Commander.
And leaving the scene of carnage, now being tended to by some of these Knights Solar, you ride horseback into the town of Drift. And that's where we're going to take our break. So
Hell yeah.
Take some time, go to the bathroom, get a drink. I'm getting a drink. I am so fucking thirsty. I wanted to get up and get a drink so bad, but I was like, oh man, this is recorded and I can't do the bad habits that I do in my non-recorded games now. But, good God, some heavy shit. I don't even.
Yeah. Right out the gate. I love it.
Telling you.
always 11. All right, we'll meet back here in 10 minutes and go from there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back from our break. I got nothing to say other than holy shit. So I'm going to throw it back over to Baron so he can get us back into this tangled web.
All right. Hopefully everyone's got drinks. We're all good to go. As we find ourselves in the depths of the pit. The manor of Lady Isadora Buckler, Marquise. You are taken within the keep. As you approach, a large section of the eastern wall has been partially dismantled. Timbers, trusses, cobblestone laid neatly piled where the expansion is planned to be built. You pass through large oaken doors that swing seamlessly on hinges despite their age. Within, the exposed portion of the main building has been sealed off to keep the cold and whatever else might be creeping in the night from coming inside with these large kind of like burlap and leather tarps. Your eyes need to adjust as you come inside. There is some light within the town, but most people are inside, bunkered down from the cold. It's only we foolish few that venture out in times such as these. The dim light of the torches hanging on the sconces line the walls. You are handed off from Nicholas to Bertrand at the front door. Nicholas and Bertrand have similar features. Bertrand is just Nicholas in like 25 years. The slim, angular features and sharp eyes like that of a hawk. Almost iconic of the Southlanders that seem to have come north with Lady Isadora. His raven black hair is smoothed back with some sort of oil or grease to keep it perfectly neat. His eyes kind of rapidly but effectively absorb every facet of the group of you as you approach. He turns, he extends an arm, inviting you all inside. Lesser servants come to take your cloaks and request your weapons be checked at the door. Do you all accept? It is custom when meeting with the lady, and he doesn't necessarily complete the sentence, assuming you know what it means.
My mace is a holy symbol and a relic and a part of the Radiant Lord, so they're not a weapon.
He like almost looks at you impatiently. And then looks to Nicholas, who kind of like subtly nods. And then he looks to the three of you.
Alistair will sigh and kind of roll his eyes, looking in Kate's direction before pulling his own mace kind of out of the ring on his belt that it kind of hangs through, kind of, choking up on the handle so that he can just extend it to this person who's waiting to receive it. It's not like you won't be getting it back.
I think Svedna walks up to Bertrand and she kind of pulls these two kind of curved daggers from her hips and she hands them to this hulking man. She unhooks the light crossbow from her back and all of the bolts, hands them to Bertrand. She does not give him Greshka though. She does not give him the Elvish sword, and she's like, "Look, if I wanted to hurt Lady Isadora, I probably could. I'm not going to. Just let's." This is not the first time I've been here, Bertrand. Let's just dispense with this bullshit, shall we?
He looks to Nicholas once again. Nicholas just kind of like shakes his head and shrugs his shoulders.
It's easier if you just go along with it, Why resist?
He looks back to you, his eyes a steel gray.
Mm-hmm.
There is no warmth. Like it looking into his eyes has the same feel of like coming or turning around and just walking back outside.
That's really what
Like-
Svedna wants to do, is just turn around and walk back outside.
But for a Southlander, most of Southlander etiquette, people from the coastal regions in Lautland and main areas along the river in Osland, they might not be nice people, but there's a formality with like the small talk of things and a certain joviality, I think is the word.
Mhm.
Bertrand lacks any of that. Very well. See that it stays in its sheath. He smiles.
Absolutely will. There it is. I was waiting for it. It's always good to see you smile, Bertrand.
Almost unable to hear.
Did they ask for our cloaks?
Yes.
That's those weapons? Okay, so I think while that kind of interaction is going on between Svedna and Bertram, Leitang was just, dramatically, with the dramatic sigh, pull off the cloak and I think just toss it at him, while he's actually still talking to Svedna, such that it either, lands either kind of over his head a little bit or just on his arms, but she's not handing it to him, she's throwing it at him. But she carries no weapons.
A butler trained with the tantrums of toddlers, he snatches the cloak and swirls it under an arm and tucks it with the others in a swift gesture. I forget, etiquette isn't taught in mountains. This way to my lady, she waits for you. Please, mind your manners. He turns. The red
There's a
chimera.
big eye roll, just a huge eye roll. I mean, you could probably hear it.
Every single
Jeez.
person involved in this interaction turns and rolls their eyes.
Yeah. These
Roll for
things-
eye roll.
except Kate.
These things take so much longer whenever you're antagonistic. So let's just maybe just go along with the flow of things. Maybe we'll be done sooner.
How did that work for what was his name? Rake Failharbor? Nobles are just people, right, Alistair?
I don't know. Some of them don't seem to be. He glares back at Svedna.
I think the smile, that again, kind of weird, like strained forced smile falls, and she locks eyes with you and says, Lady Isadora is many things. She is stubborn, she is perceptive, but she's smart. Better be careful in there.
That goes for all of us, I imagine.
Maybe.
Tempers
Leitang-
seem high. Have you not noticed?
Sorry, you have to speak up a little bit.
Tempers seem high. Did you
Whoa.
not notice?
I mean, with who? I mean, I'm fine. Are you okay? I mean, I can hear your knees popping whenever you walk, but, figured that was just age.
With the knights.
Oh, they're always like that. You've been in Drift for longer than I have. You know they're always like that. It's like they have a
No.
broomstick shoved up their asses,
Well, I had been wondering where most of those brooms had gone.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad they can't pull them out and start beating those undead. I think she kind of narrows her eyes a little and gives you this like slightly more significant look. Alistair's like, seems to be a lot more of them these days, yeah?
Yes. It's
It might behoove us to impress upon Lady Isadora the importance of dealing with this, strange threat from the west.
well, maybe that's what she wants to speak with us about.
Oh, I hope so. First time for everything.
I think Leitang has been watching this entire interaction, especially the beginning, with what, like the reaction that Alistair had to Svedna with that cryptic remark that she doesn't get, but she's like, immediately interested in these two adults like bickering, and it's like, I want to know what's going on. And then it starts getting, onto a little bit more of the whatever you guys were talking about, and it's a little boring. So I stop paying attention. I think at one point she'll just like kind of tug on Alistair's sleeve, and she's like,
Yes?
and in a very like a soft whisper, like, I don't have time for this.
For what?
This. And she's like pointing around, like trying not to point around, but like indicating the building. I need to be somewhere. Oh, you're muted, Baron.
There was a small piece of paper that you find still crumpled in your hand.
Be somewhere? You've been called before the noble lady.
And she just looks at you like, oh my God. Like, these adults just don't understand anything at all, ever. And I think she just like, ugh.
Look, I'm not particularly fond of her myself, and I'd rather be elsewhere. But it's warm in here, there are fires to stand near, so maybe we should just bide our time. And then you can go on about your way with your other business. And he indicates the crumpled paper.
The children's lives don't mean anything to you. She kind of mutters as she like turns away from you.
You are being led down the hallway at this point. The red chimera emblazoned on a field of white hangs along both sides of this entryway and line the hallway as well. 2 red roses in either talon indicate a lesser house. Furthermore, red is definitely the major color theme here. Just major color. It is not uncommon for houses under offhand's influence to bear red as it's the standard. But if it's not red, it's gold or gilded. Massive on the far end of the hall, overlooking the entryway, is a portrait of Lady Isadora, regal and beautiful, and on her lap rests a snow-white cat with sapphire blue eyes. Behind her, as more of a decoration or accent to the painting, is Lord Consort Philippe de Santes. This painting was obviously done was some time ago, someplace far away, as it sits kind of funny, not completely proportional to like the space that it's supposed to occupy. Behind, you can see the edges of what would have been a mural, like in the stone of the wall. A fiery serpent dragon. You can see the edge of its face kind of pinned to the ground by some sort of radiant light and a lance that holds it in place. Passing you in the halls, leaving as if are Light Oscar and Light Ralph, priests of the new temple. They argue under hushed tones, but as they pass, they acknowledge you with practiced smiles and quickly kind of hush their tones. Well, good evening. The lady awaits. We are just leaving. Kate, you'll see her in good mood, at least. We think we have convinced her to fully invest in the temple. We'll be able to get the wood imported from the south. It's much better than the pine that they use up here. You'll be impressed.
Alistair kind of chokes.
Fantastic. Zelira smiles upon us. You've shown her the light.
Were you gonna say something, Alistair?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Alistair like chokes, like at this mention that this Templar is going to be receiving funds from this noble, knowing he's been trying for months to get stone brought here so that he can repair the walls of this dilapidated temple that he's trying to repair.
You see Ralph is kind of like red in the face. I don't see why we couldn't split it between wood and vellum. We also need paper. I have to write. You just don't understand. And they begin to walk away. You all have a good evening. Bertrand opens the door and kind of bids you enter this set of double doors at the end of the hallway. You enter like a staircase room, and he leads you up like 2 or 3 flights of stairs. And as you kind of ascend, you can feel like almost the radiant heat coming from beyond this sitting room door. He puts his hand on the door. Please, remember your manners. And he opens the door. Now entering guests, Lady Isadora. And the stagnant and oppressive heat of this room hits you like a tidal wave. Almost sickening, as the clothes you're wearing are clearly far too hot. Your body is just unable to, like, you have winter clothes on and you've entered an 80-degree room. The air is dry from the wood fire. Beyond, a comfortable room that just radiates heat. The air is stagnant, and you see the Lord Consort, a short man. He's probably, 5.5 feet tall. He tosses another log into the fire, and pokes it with a metal rod. He rubs his arms as if catching some sort of chill with the open door. Sitting arranged in kind of like a semicircle around the room are ladies of the town. We see Lady Laurel Reinhardt, a noble woman with brown hair and blue eyes, native to Drift. We see Lord Consort Philippe, who moves back to his chair. We see Lady Isadora Buckler, sitting kind of in the middle. A cascade of golden curls frame her face as if gold veins sprouted from her head. She is the vision of perfection. An array of encrusted diamonds hang on either ear, and to say that they pale in comparison is an understatement. Her face is almost as porcelain in appearance, with cheeks the color of rose. But the flower itself may envy. The emerald eyes that burn within her sockets like a green fire, and perfect lips part for a smile, equal parts beautiful and terrifying. Her words, like honey, float through the air. Do come in and shut the door. The hate is escaping in this drafty place. You are ushered in, and seats are kind of arranged from where Light Oscar and Light Ralph are sitting, and 2 more are added, giving you places to sit. Please, make yourself comfortable. A glass of wine, dear. And Lord Consort Philip hands her a goblet of wine.
Alistair finds the chair that is closest to the fireplace. Although it might be too warm for many here, he literally has spent the last however many weeks to months living inside of a non-complete building in the mountains and is tired of feeling cold. So he's going to sit as close as he can to the source of heat, and he's just like rubbing like his knuckles of his opposite hand and then like switching, just kind of like taking in this like radiant heat as much as he can before he has to leave.
I think Leitung would actually join him over there, close to the heat. And she's just staring into the fire, watching the fire dance. But I think the only person in this room at this moment that she has any sort of like true connection with at this point is Alistair, so she's not going to be too far away from him.
Kate will bow and say thank you, Lady Isadora. May Zadir shine his blessings upon you. And when you have a moment to discuss the urgent matter of Sister Egrid still being missing, please let me know when we can discuss that.
Yes, dear, we will. Shortly. Please, sit. Are you thirsty? Dear, get her some wine.
Yes, of course, thank you.
Philippe offers you a silver cup with a very, heavily spiced southern wine.
Your tastes are exquisite and your generosity knows no bounds. Thank you so much.
Alistair kind of gives Lei Tung like a tired look.
You should try this.
I think Svedna is just staring at Kate as just this again. It's to her at least it's just drivel. I think she is so surprised by, which I mean she's changed quite a bit in the last 6 years, but just how much Kate has changed in this sort of woman that she's become. I think she's just staring at Kate for a few moments and doesn't even realize she's the last person standing until she sees Kate sit down to enjoy her wine. And Svenna just shakes her head and walks over to the only other available chair and just kind of sits down heavily, immediately locking eyes with Lady Isadora. There's no hesitation. There's maybe a slight deference, but it's barely noticeable. And she doesn't say anything.
Are you thirsty, Svedna? You look tired.
No, and I am tired. Hopefully we can
Well,
discuss why soon. My lady. She kind of inclines her head a little bit.
but of course. We were just discussing, the group of us, some of the funds we're going to try and convene from the south within King Alphin's coffers to expand on the temple. It seems as if the recent shipment of supplies for the keep were not enough to cover what else needs to be done at the temple, so we'll need to get more. No matter. I did have some thoughts, though, and perhaps you could give me some input, Svedna. You see, we're expanding the manor here. I'm sure you've seen it. You've been in the area. I know you've got some good expertise with kind of like the aesthetics of things. Maybe you could just give me some opinions on like where I should, move into the side of this area here, and expand the manor.
You know what? I'll give you an opinion right now. Don't do it. Don't expand anything. Focus on the darkness coming from the west, my lady. Because if you don't, all of your expansions, all of your plans will be as nothing. If you have seen what the Rotwood has become, you will not want Drift to suffer that same fate.
I'm sorry, I don't recall asking about that. Are you going to answer my questions or not?
No, because that opinion is the only opinion that matters.
Interesting. So defiant. It's funny.
Pragmatic.
My little brother, who's down south, he was in the king's army, and he served with a man who was a lord in the Rotwood some 7 years ago. And it came to my attention some stories that came from that region at the time. There's
Do
a
tell.
certain red-skinned tiefling girl with crystalline weaponry that could perhaps be responsible for this darkness coming from the west. But these are just rumors, of course. I wouldn't know anything about that. Would you? You're not from the west, are you? You're from... I can't quite recall.
I think there's like this visible muscle in Svedna's jaw that is like twitching and spasming as Lady Isadora speaks. But she doesn't turn her gaze away. She keeps locking eyes with her and says, "No, I am. My family lived not far from the Rotwood. I had to, of course, move my mother when it got so dangerous. Well, no sane person would go there without an army at their back. But, well, maybe we can discuss these rumors sometime. But again, I would think if you'd heard these whispers, this gossip, you might consider maybe putting your expansions on hold and focusing more on making sure your people are united, not divided by a stubborn insistence on pointless expansions. Might be a thought.
Alistair cuts in. I think we all understand how harmful it is to believe all of the stories that we might hear about this or that. He kind of like lets that hang for a moment. But Svedna is correct. There has been a large, noticeable increase in the dead walking again in the Rotwood. I killed several on my way here tonight. This is soon going to be upon us, within days, I think. Something needs to be done, or else you will have to build your building atop graveyards if you continue.
And every person that can no longer afford to live in drift is just going to be another tally for the enemy. You will be making more enemies. That should be your focus, stopping that, my lady.
You have all been listening to that drivel, that cult of fanatics that stayed here before I got here. Spouts at every given turn.
It's not drivel. And I think there's like actually like a hint of a snarl in Svedna's voice as she says, it's not drivel. It's true. I have seen it. And I know the Cairn Maker has too. It's real.
Surely you both have also seen the power that Zalir provides and the protection that he provides. I am evidence of the miracles that Zalir can impose upon people, and it is through his strength that I have also slain quite a few of these undead. It is this temple which will be our bastion of faith, our strong walls, and our conviction towards Zalir is what will guide these people into protection.
Platitudes are not strong walls, Kate. Strong walls are strong walls. A
Hence the
temple is
shipment
not
of stone. I believe we all
not a
agree there's
fortress.
stone here.
You need stone to build walls, Svedna, and if I can't show the crown that there is something important worth building a stone wall around, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Build it around the town. You don't
I
think the
am.
town is important enough?
What do you
Forget the
think I'm
temple,
doing?
forget
What do you think
expanding
I
your
offer?
palace.
You just
I'm not
stated there
completely
would be
blind.
no town. Structures will be the only thing left. We will rebuild from a foundation that is as solid as you can be.
What are you talking about, Kate? Letting the town get destroyed? I'm talking about taking, if you have stone coming in, wonderful. You want an opinion, my lady? That's the opinion. Use that stone to build a wall around the whole town, not just the palace, not just the temple, the entire town. Otherwise, every peasant that falls out in the snow is going to rise up again to rip your face off. By the way, you're looking lovely today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, is there a reason that we were all called here? I believe that you asked to see us, so...
You, not so much.
Well, thank you once again.
Nicholas
Making me
seems
feel
to have done
welcome.
an old man a favor, brought him in out of the cold.
Ouch.
Kate, always welcome in my company, my dear. And she smiles sweetly at you.
It is always a pleasure to be graced with your company.
And despite The sharpness of your tongue, Svedna. I do need to know something else that I heard from the West. The more important part, at least, to what I've come to understand. Crystalline weaponry. It is important to people that matter. What can you tell me of it?
What sort of people that matter, my lady?
Would it help if I said the king himself?
I think Svedna does do like a long inhale and then an exhale. It is probably best to leave it alone. Some things are better left undisturbed. For everyone's sake.
Gosh, the sentiment, I hear it. I love it. I understand. The king is a king, and
I am
whatever
aware.
is within his domain, he lays claims to. And why? I've noticed something, if you'll humor me. You don't like the pleasantries of Saul, the pageantry, the introductions. I get it. I understand. I love it. It's what I'm here for.
Oh,
But
I can tell.
you love to beat around the damn bush, Svedna. Just tell me what I need to know and be on your way. That's all there is to it. You'll do the same thing to me in return. Okay. Well, I have the time, and apparently you do not. So you can tell me.
Don't tamper with crystalline weaponry. You wanted my knowledge? This is my knowledge. I am benevolently bestowing it upon you, my lady, as a humble subject of thrift for however long that time remains.
She looks beyond you, shakes her head, looks back to you. She smiles. What will I do with you? So spunky.
That's one word for it. You see enough, maybe you'll be spunky too. My lady. Always forget that. It's just hard to remember.
Well, then let me tell you what I do. Maybe you'll learn something. Who knows?
I hope so.
From what I've come to hear, these rumors from the West, a large portion of this crimson secret you like to hold so dear is now within the domain of someone calling themselves the Headless One, a Dark Lord, if you will. It doesn't escape the king's eye, I assure you. But the loss suddenly of a resource of such value, the king is willing to do what it takes to get it back. There are a multitude of ways in which you could go about doing that, but I feel as if an effective and clean means of doing so would perhaps prevent wanton and reckless death on a colossal scale. She looks to Alistair. It was a little before my time, but I believe there was something of relevant history that happened with wanton loss of life.
Yes, and it's more monstrous than you can even imagine. The reports that I'm certain that you must have read of it pale by comparison.
I assume, though I could be wrong, I am not learned necessarily. I assume the only way to... I'm hoping the king is interested in not just regaining the resource, but regaining the entire region 7 days to the west of here. But the only way to do so, I would imagine, would be to find and destroy the Headless One, who is also real, I assume. Though I have never seen him, them, it, so I don't know what they look like. But I think that is the only way to stop what is happening in the Rotwood from spreading. And it's going to spread, as Alistair said, as Kate said, these walking dead, they are servants of this Headless One, I imagine, or creatures resurrected by the mere presence of this thing. We have to find it. And Drift, at the very least, as I said before, needs to be prepared for this. And it's not.
Very well. It's at this time that Melanie Albrecht, the priestess that was accompanying you, Kate, earlier, she kind of like slips in. But she does not take a seat. She kind of like stands at attention at the door.
Yes, and my lady, please, we are also concerned about the whereabouts of Sister Egrid. If you could provide some resources to search for her, that would
My
be
child,
great.
please. I said the answer to this question already. We'll get to it in time. But first, you. And she looks to you, Light Tongue. Where do I know you from?
Light Tongue does not even know that she's actually talking to her at this moment because she checked out probably 2 seconds into this entire conversation. She's been looking at the fire. I'm assuming this is probably like a velvet-lined chair or something posh that I'm sitting in by this fire, and I've been continuously like picking at the velvet, just pick. So there's probably a part that's getting a little bit threadbare. I don't care. I am just so done with all these adults. I think Alistair could probably tell the mood of Lei Tung is that you can see that she is frustrated and just, I mean, she does not want to be here right now. She's just like, can't be bothered with what's going on. So she doesn't even notice that the lady is talking to her. So there's no reply, but just continuous like.
Alistair kind of like under the table, kind of like nudges her, like in the side of her leg.
So I think she kind of maybe glares at you like, what?
He just kind of like tilts his head towards the head of the table.
Hello. Welcome. This is my home. You are within. Greetings. Thank you for joining us.
It's nice.
Thank you. Where do I know you from? You look familiar.
I couldn't even hesitate to guess where you'd know me from.
I just love meeting new people. I am Lady Isadora Buckler. Charmed.
Did anybody ask you that? She kind of says under her breath to Alistair. Well, so Alistair could probably hear it, but depending on her hearing, yeah, there's a disdain, I think. If you couldn't hear the words, you could definitely hear the sound of the tone of the voice.
It's probably not helped by the fact that Alistair kind of like catches for a second, kind of a kind of like reaction.
Well, if you're one of the people residing within the mausoleum up on the mountain, you can't stay there anymore. Sorry. It's kind of a bad look.
What are you talking about? The monastery's been there forever.
Sure. But like all things, they come to an end.
Is this a part of your expansion?
Not specifically.
Then why the bother?
Well, you see, the alignment that I follow with the church just can't allow me to let these heathen gods reside
You
so
are
close.
no different than the frickin' brigands on the road. You come and you steal people's homes. How dare you? What kind of right do you have for that? And then she looks at Alistair and is like, oh shit, what did I just do?
As you turn, there is something sharp that pricks the underside of your chin. Beside you is Bertrand, as oily as a shadow can be. The object, a knife of some kind, extends from beneath his kind of like suit. It's not really a suit, but his like suit robes. Lady Isadora. Now, Bertrand. So quick. That's why we don't. The knife retracts into his sleeve. I forget. What was your name?
Leighton.
Right. So beautiful. What does it mean?
What does Isadora mean?
I'm told it means radiant flower.
So that just shows us how good names mean.
I think
What does
Sveta
it
just
matter?
looks at Alistair, kind of like tilts her head to one side and kind of like flicks her gaze to Lei Tung, like, who is this person? What is her deal?
He shrugs as if to say, I must just collect them. Right back at Svedna.
I think seeing that, Sveta just looks back to Lady Isadora and says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe we just need to take a little step back here, I think, as someone old and vaguely obnoxious said, tempers are running high or whatever. So this monastery that you want to destroy because of your affiliation with the faith of the Iron Ring, could perhaps the manpower, person power that would be required to level this monastery, could that not be better used, perhaps, to fortifying Drift itself?
Oh,
Starting
hunter,
that
monster
process.
hunter, tracker, business and land planner.
I am
Multifaceted.
trying to, and I would think you would be interested in this, I'm trying to prevent the people of Drift from having further conflict amongst themselves, Lady Isadora. That's not what you need right now. You don't need to have your subjects ripping and tearing at each other or at you. This needs to be a united front. It's the only way you're going to survive. Whether you believe me or not, doesn't really matter. But this is how it works.
Well, welcome advice, I will admit. And I'll keep that. She looks up at Melanie. What is it? I'm sorry, Your Grace. Ward. Bodies found. Sister Egrid is dead. Her attachment of knights also dead. Among them, a squire by the name of Ewan held this letter to be delivered to Sister Catherine.
Catherine will drop her goblet of wine and it crashes to the floor. And she is staring off blankly.
Alistair kind of breaking any decorum or like processional at all. He turns to this priestess and he says, "What is the nature of their wounds?"
Grievous, Alistair. Torn to pieces.
Yet the prince? Were they the Prince of Man?
The shuffling dead.
He turns back to the lady. See? As I said, it is upon us already.
I'm sorry, Kate.
Please do not use the death of Sister Ygritte to further your political cause.
You
Let us
see,
say a prayer for her. Okay.
Lady Buckler is like writing a letter furiously as you're kind of saying this. Yes, let us. And you see like Lady Laurel, bow her head and like, oh, sobbing and giving her Hail Marys or whatever.
Yeah,
Hail
Kate
Anik.
gives one of
Yeah,
the like
Oh yeah, different god.
Hail's all the year.
Kate gives the packaged scripture, but delivers it with deep emotion.
That's not all, my lady. It seems as if a child has also gone missing from the village. I don't know if they're related. That is all.
I think Alistair looks at Lei Tung at this.
Lei Tung is staring at the woman that just spoke. I think this is the first time she's like, besides the altercation we just had with Isadora, this is the first time she's like actually looking at any of the people in this room. And you can see her eyes are just like fixated on what that woman has said. And there's a look of I don't, almost like not disbelief, but that you can see that Lei Tung is kind of almost in shock at these sounds. Like there's you don't know if she's going to hold it together, to be honest.
As she's writing,
Alistair,
Lady Isadora looks out to you. You may go.
Alistair goes over to Lei Tung and kind of quietly, is it related?
I think she looks at you like confused, related to what?
This attack of the undead so near the town, is it related to this stolen child?
No, I don't know.
Where did you get the note?
And you can see like she immediately zips up.
Listen, child. Whoever this note refers to may be in very grave danger.
That's why I didn't want to be here in the first place. I told you I had some place to be. And I think that's a little louder, and the rest of the room was going to hear it.
When you said that we could go, were you talking to all of us, milady? Can we?
You may, Svedna, you can go.
Perfect. Let's leave. And she's gonna get up, and she'll actually, I think she'll dip this very like kind of formal, surprisingly formal bow before looking pointedly at the others, nodding towards the door and starting to kind of stalk out towards, I imagine, where Bertrand is waiting, holding the door open. Kind of glancing back occasionally to see if the others are following, but she'll just keep walking.
Kate follows pretty quickly, and when we're out the door, we'll almost choke to you, Svedna, like, please help me find Sister Ygritte.
Yes, of course, Kate. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this happened. I think you see like this weird, and I think you probably, even though it's been 6 years, like you've seen these just like weird kind of like guilty, ashamed, angry expressions just kind of flit across Svedna's face at just really random moments. And I think you see one of those expressions kind of skitter across her scarred face in this instant. But then she straightens up and says, yes, we can try and at the very least give her a proper burial, and maybe we can find who or whatever is responsible. I think just kind of look back towards where Lei Tung and Alistair are. I'm probably going to need some help, though.
Yes. Yes.
And they kind of like catch up, I think, maybe, as Alistair is still kind of trying to get this information out of Lei Tung. You need to tell me.
Let's walk and talk, yeah? Get out of the palace or the estate, the mansion, whatever we call it.
I assume that like by the time that Kate had like asked you, you had moved out into like the hallway.
Yeah, no, and I think Sven is suggesting like just leaving the building. Like if they're uncomfortable being here, which makes sense, she's not super comfortable here either, just like getting the fuck out and having whatever conversation we need to have about what
Yeah.
we're doing next. So let's
Sounds
go.
like a conversation for the tavern.
hmm
Booze. It's always booze. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think if Alistair starts to kind of angle towards a tavern, I don't think Sven is going to argue.
I think Alistair is probably used to having some pretty clandestine meetings in dark corners of taverns.
You all move out into the still flurrying winter evening. Easily, you know, somewhere between like 6 and 8 inches have accumulated in the last couple hours. It's coming in heavy. Sven, I think it was, had this realization, but you are all kind of coming to it now. Like, this is what drift will be until the warms of the 5th moon. Until things turn green or there's any kind of melting of any kind. So the plan is to go to the tavern. The tavern is called the Rusted Miner. The kind of sign above the door shows a dwarf painted red, like leaning up against the wall. The rowdy fucker.
It's a franchise.
Yeah. It's the place with the peanuts, you know, get all the goofy shit
Yeah,
up.
you know.
It's all day breakfast.
Coloring mats for the kids.
They got the buffet on Tuesday, kids eat free.
Yeah, I think in probably not an uncharacteristic display of generosity, but regardless, I think Svedna would, once everyone was in, kind of like just get whatever like the Drift's typical ale or beer is for the table. Even Lei Tung, I don't think she gives a crap. You know what I mean? This is quasi medieval times. Kids drink, and she just kind of set down tankards in front of everybody before sitting down in a chair. So it seems like we have some things to discuss, perhaps. Lei Tung, I know you. Well, I don't know you, but Tom knows you. He speaks well of you. But right, we should have a conversation or two, and drink.
I think served would probably be the imported spiced wine, not a kind of like fancy as it was within the manor, but this is like what was import brought with the queen that she kind of like brought for the people that came with her. It's heavily spiced. It's fairly delicious when warmed, and it's kind of been welcomed among those who stay within the wall as kind of just like a rejuvenative drink after the cold. Sits in the chest, warms the chest. You're also brought over kind of like it's definitely like a roast that's probably sat in the pot for too long. Like it's chewy and carrots are squishy and mashed, you know, but the potatoes have absorbed a good bit of broth, and you're kind of served a platter of various things from the stew.
Kate will actually go about choosing a few of the things, like some crusty or bread, and like making sure that it's got a big heaping helping of butter and soften it with the stew and tried to mix and match a few things, saying, that it was Sister Egrid who used to serve a meal just like this. And it was, she hopes that she can share a meal just like this with her again. I have a chef background, and I can, during a short rest, any creature, I guess we don't really need to do a short rest. What I can do is I can cook 3 treats and distribute those 3 treats to people, and if you eat them, you gain 3 temporary hit points. Will you let me cook treats with this meal that is cooked? Oh, they said Egrid was dead. Yeah. Dang.
You're muted, Baron. Classic.
Yeah, Lady Egrid is dead. You also heard that a knight bearing the name of Ewan was also found killed.
Oh, okay. Definitely missed that. Great.
Yep.
Glossing over that. Not going to deal with that right now. Burying that deep, deep down.
Yeah, I think whenever Kate says this, everybody else at the table kind of exchanges a look like, share a meal with her again? You mean in the afterlife?
Smooth, Alistair. Like, well, bedside manner. Excellent. Must be
We
the first thing to
all
go in your old
meet
age.
again, Alistair, in the lands blessed by Azir.
Hopefully they serve better stew, he says, kind of like pouring out the contents of his spoon disappointedly.
It is truly good.
Right. So, it seems we have what? Go ahead.
Alistair is gonna look at Leitong. Should we show them?
Yeah, Leitong again is I think extremely distracted with what's going on. The ale was placed in front of her, or the wine or whatever we're having. And she's just kind of like staring into it, she's kind of swirling it, taking a sip. She's not really paying attention again to any of you. And then when you say something, I think you'd have to say it again before she responds to you. Again, she's in her head at this moment.
Maybe we should show them?
I think she kind of just like looks at you at this moment, and you can see that she is fighting very hard to not break down at this moment. Her eyes are like starting to well up, and I think she doesn't even really understand what you're saying at this moment. Like, you see confusion in her eyes, like what you're even asking her.
The note, Leitong.
Why don't you just say whatever it is, Alistair?
And I think that gives a nod when you say that. She's just, and then she goes back to and swirling and staring into the glass.
Leitong was on her way into town to stop an abduction. She has a note.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of indicates, like, holds his hand out.
Do you, Leitong, or maybe you, Alistair, do you know who is behind this? Or do you have a general idea? I don't, and again, I could be wrong, but I don't think the living dead have much use for prisoners. I think they tend to either eat or raise the individuals they take.
To have 2 attacks on the town by undead in the same evening as an abduction? Surely it's too strange to not be connected somehow.
I think Sveta gives you a look and you say it's too strange. Alistair, I don't think anything is too strange to have happened concurrently with something like this. Come on. I would think you of all people would know that strange things happen in bunches all the time. Shit comes down in torrents. It's not a little drizzle, it's a torrent. I don't...
Very
I don't,
rarely is it chaotic and unconnected.
Depends on the situation. We have the shadow in the west, and we have an abducted child. Why one child? What is so special about this one child?
That is what I have been trying to get Lei Tong to tell me, and have not been successful as of yet.
Sveta looks to Lei Tong. Do you have any
She
thoughts?
is, yeah, she's not looking up. She's not looking up at anybody, but at this one point, like, while you guys are kind of talking about the undead and whether it has connection, she's like, she was to be my successor.
Your successor?
But I made a promise that I wouldn't let them take her.
Who's them?
And I
Lei Tong.
broke my promise. And I think at that moment you can see that she's just kind of holding in the sobs.
Child. Alistair puts a hand kind of on her shoulder. If there were truly someone set out to abduct this child, it's not too late. Surely they need her or want her for some purpose. Your successor, you said? The people in the monastery are connected to this?
She's fine. She will not be hurt.
Do you know who took her? Or who is going to take her?
She will be Lei Tong in Wharton.
Okay. Who will make her that? I think you can see like there's a little bit of fraying of patience, but Sven is trying to keep it together. Who is going to make her this Lei Tong ill water in Wharton?
Wharton.
Thank you.
And I think at that she just kind of looks at you like, how do you not even know this?
I think Svenda, when you look at her, she kind of smiles and winks at you, and then kind of waits for you to keep talking.
Yeah, she's like, how do you not even know this stuff, right? Like she's got that look, like incredulous, in between the tears, right? Like it's the stopping of the tears that are falling.
Drink some wine and tell us who it is, who these abductors are.
She was chosen. She's been chosen. And then she looks at you. She will be Lei Tong in Wharton.
I think Sven looks at Alistair for a moment and then just slowly looks back to Lei Tong. Chosen by who, child? Come on. We're so close. You can feel it. It's right on the tip of your tongue. Just need a name so that can point us in a direction, right? And we could save this person, hopefully.
Is this sanctioned by your people?
You know who these people are? Have you known this whole time? Who are they?
The people, I told you, the people in the monastery in the mountains. That's where Lei Tong is from.
Do they have a name? What do they call
Are they behind this?
The undead know.
I'm telling you, Alistair, the undead are servants of the Headless One.
I
it's
understand.
a separate situation. But
Yes.
who are the people in the monastery? Who are these people?
Are they
And I think
behind
this
the
is
abduction?
I am going
that.
to
It's
flip
not
this table over. What are the people in the monastery called?
I think stop calling it that. It's not an abduction. She was chosen. She's going to be fine.
I,
I am so
The children
close.
of Dunsfed. Now, how long have you lived under a rock?
I have been living with a monster hunter on the outskirts of Drift, you silly, obnoxious child.
How have you
All
not
right.
heard of this?
So listen, so the children of Dun may have this child. She's chosen. She won't be hurt, which is good, apparently, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. How much time do we have before this? Is there some sort of process? Is there a ritual involved to this choosing, or is she just picked up and carted off? How does this work?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm just gonna look over to Kate. I know you wanted to try and find Sister Egrid's remains. Maybe we put that on hold for just a moment. Try to save this child who's being chosen.
Save her from what? She's fine.
You seem incredibly distraught
I
considering she's
made a
supposedly just fine.
promise. I made a promise and I did not complete that promise. And in so doing, I have started a prophecy that bodes no well for anyone.
So what do you want to do then? Do you want to just sit here and cry about
There's
it?
nothing I
or-
can do any more. And I think she at this point shoots daggers at Alistair because in her anger right now, you are the cause of her not being able to keep the promise. I told you I needed to go and you didn't let me.
Hmm.
But what's done is
you're
done.
muted, Baron.
He was just reacting, maybe. Oh fuck.
From outside, you hear a wailing sob. And like they burst into the tavern and like stumble to the bar. It's a man. He could pass for gnome if he wasn't tall enough. He's human, but he's shorter. His features are kind of like marred with grime. You can tell that he's been working in the mines. He like collides with the bar. Give me anything to take away this pain.
Do I recognize him?
Oh, 100%
Yeah.
you do.
I think as soon as he comes in, there's no hesitation. I don't care what even like these three people that I'm sitting at the table with are even saying. Lei Tung sees this man and immediately gets up from the table and goes over to him.
He turns and like a renewed wave of sorrow washes over him. Ah!
And I think she drops to the ground in front of him, like kind of prostrates herself down and is kneeling in front of him. It's just like, I am so sorry. I failed you.
He collapses to his knees and takes your hands in his. They took her right under our noses.
I'm sorry.
He begins squeezing your hands. You're sorry. You're sorry. He looks up at you through red and bloodshot eyes. Don't be sorry. Get her back. And as it zooms out from this kind of scene, your faces close to each other. We kind of pan out, escaping the room into the dense snowfall as we fade into the night. And thus we conclude the first episode of Drift, the second song of the Ards.
Ooh.
Congratulations, everybody, we did it!
Damn, spicy. Man, that was amazing. You wasted absolutely no time. Like we got like right into it. It was incredible. Right?
We have to have this go the whole There's no filler. It's all purpose.
Right. No bottled episodes here.
Well, with
Incredible.
that, there is no epilogue to the episode. There is no post-credit scenes. Just us, 5 role players. Good job, guys. I'm impressed. I had a great time. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to y'all. If you have any closing remarks, we do this all the time. If they don't know who we are at this point, it's redundant. So, Jason, we'll go around the same way.
Sounds good. I have been Jason Osorio playing Sved and Nazif. It is so good to be back. Yeah, honestly, it's just I don't know if it's what is it? A bunch of great tastes that taste great together. You know, the players, the DM, the world. It's all coming together, man. It's been a lot of fun, and again, I cannot wait for next weekend. So, without further ado, I'll pass it on to the next amazing player. Thank you, Baron, of course, and thank you, Jeremy, as well for hosting.
I'm Karen. So glad to be back with this group playing this in this world again. This was incredible. I had so much fun. It's seeing all the characters and oh my God, we like hate so many people. It's amazing. I just love it so much. I cannot wait for our next session and all the things that are going to come to light in that one. And with that, I'll pass it on to Philip.
The reason all D&D role players have tragic backstories and are like orphans is because if you don't have that, then the DM's just going to kill them anyway in the first session. So it's awesome playing. Thanks, everyone. I'm having a ton of fun, as always. Jeremy?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I live for games like this. I love having our backstories like immediately brought up and become interwoven with the plot, and create these kind of like complications and very like morally complex situations. It's what makes these games so much fun to play, and ultimately what helps like round out all of these characters and their relationships so well. Yeah, it's always really fun to kind of come back to a character a little further on in their career. So I had a ton of fun being able to kind of step back into the boots of Alistair, especially with one of the old gang and some new characters to kind of see, you know, what hasn't changed and what has. Yeah, I'm super happy with that being our first session, and I'm looking forward to what comes next because I know it's going to continue to twist and turn, have lots of barbs thrown around every direction. But yeah, I love each one of you so much as human beings as well as players and a dungeon master. So thank you very much for coming onto the channel and for putting on such a spectacular game. Thank you, Baron, for running the game for us as well as creating the world. It's I love how rich and how dark Ardlands is. It's a really cool setting. I like what you've done with it a lot, and I'm eager to see what else you're going to reveal for us throughout the course of this story. So, thank you.
Well, more or less, I know we didn't roll a tremendous amount of dice, but if anything, D&D is the muse for the characters that I want to write stories about, and that's kind of more my interest here, is to tell a good story. And though I do anticipate utilizing the system obviously to a more fuller extent when we get into like some serious combat, but I didn't really want that to be like the focus, so it's not like I didn't think we would get through everything I wanted to get through if we rolled initiative for combat and proceed. I considered it heavily. I have stat blocks pulled up, you know, everything was ready, and it was like, God, we like to talk. I like to talk. Do I do this? And I think it actually worked out better that we didn't. So it's kind of, I mean, to the naysayers, they're like, yeah, you're not really playing D&D. I don't really give a fuck. I don't know what you want from me, man. That also being said, we are on a 3-episode crunch here, so we got to be on 11 the whole time. Otherwise, what are we doing? But with that, we will be back next week, 7 o'clock Eastern, for another 3-hour session where things get spicy. So, so until then,
Perfect.
Everyone be safe and do nice things to other people, and don't be a hater.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, y'all. Till next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.